Hey everyone, and welcome to our documentary about Egypt. It's a land of super cool old stuff and amazing things today. From the giant pyramids in Giza to the busy streets of Cairo, Egypt is full of history, mystery, and exciting stories. Today we're going on an adventure to discover 10 strange facts you probably didn't know about Egypt. Get ready to be surprised as we explore secrets of the pharaohs, learn about old customs, and find out the hidden truths that make Egypt so awesome. In Giza, there's a huge building called the Great Pyramid. It was built for the pharaoh Khufu, and people have been amazed by it for thousands of years. But here's a secret. Inside the pyramid, the temperature is always the same. Even though the desert can get super hot, like over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, inside it stays at a cool 68 degrees Fahrenheit. How is that possible? The giant stones of the pyramid keep the heat out, and special air vents let fresh air in. The ancient Egyptians were really smart builders. They used nature to make a building that's lasted for so long. This perfect temperature helped keep all the treasures inside safe too. You've probably heard of Cleopatra, the famous queen of Egypt. We usually picture her with fancy headwear and beautiful eye makeup. But guess what? Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian. She was Greek. Cleopatra was part of a Greek family called the Ptolemies, who ruled Egypt for almost 300 years. They were related to one of Alexander the Great's helpers. Even though they were Greek, the Ptolemies acted like Egyptian pharaohs. They followed Egyptian traditions and built amazing temples. Cleopatra even spoke Egyptian really well, which helped her be a powerful ruler. After Cleopatra, the Romans took over Egypt, and that was the end of the Ptolemaic family's reign. We use calendars to keep track of time, right? Well, the ancient Egyptians were some of the first people to make a calendar with 365 days, just like ours. They were super smart about the stars and the Nile River. They noticed that the river flooded every year when a special star called Sirius showed up in the sky. They figured out that this happened every 365 days, so they made a calendar with 12 months of 30 days each, plus 5 extra days. This calendar was really helpful for farming because they knew when the Nile would flood. It was also important for their religious celebrations. The Egyptians were really clever to make such an accurate calendar so long ago. Clothes change all the time, but some clothes are really old and special. Guess where the oldest dress in the world was found? Egypt! It's called the Tarkan dress, and it's from around 3000 BC. It's made of linen, a nice light fabric. The dress is pretty simple, but also pretty, and it goes all the way down to the ankles. It has straps that go over the shoulders, so maybe they wore it over another shirt. The fancy pleats and stitching show how skilled the Egyptian weavers were. This dress shows us that ancient Egyptians cared about fashion too. Long ago, people used natural things as medicine. The ancient Egyptians did something pretty strange. They used moldy bread to help infections. It might sound gross, but some molds actually stop bacteria from growing. They would put this moldy bread on cuts and infections to help them heal. It sounds weird, but it kind of makes sense because that's how we discovered penicillin, a medicine that fights infections. The Egyptians were really good at observing nature and trying new things. Have you ever heard of a labor strike? It's when workers stop working to get better conditions. The first ever recorded labor strike happened in ancient Egypt in 1170 BC. The workers who built the tombs in the Valley of the Kings weren't getting paid their grain, which was like their salary. They were hungry and angry, so they stopped working and protested. This was a really big deal, and the first time in history something like this happened. We know the earth is round, but the ancient Egyptians thought it was flat, like a rectangle. They thought the sky was above and the underworld was below. They had stories about gods like Geb, the earth, Nut, the sky, and Ra, the sun god, who sailed across the sky in a boat. They believed the Nile River came from the underworld. These stories helped them understand the world around them. Everyone wants clean teeth, even ancient Egyptians. They made their own kind of toothpaste. It wasn't minty like ours, but it had some interesting ingredients. They used crushed rock salt to clean their teeth, mint to make their breath smell good, and dried flowers to help their gums. They mixed this all together into a paste and used their fingers or little twigs to brush their teeth. Writing is important for sharing stories and ideas. The ancient Egyptians invented something called papyrus, which is like thick paper. They made it from a plant that grew near the Nile River. They peeled the plant, cut it into strips, and then wove and pounded it together to make sheets. Papyrus made it much easier to write than using clay tablets or stone. They used it to write down their history, stories, and even letters. The ancient Egyptians believed in lots of gods and goddesses. Each god had different powers and stories. Ra was the sun god, Osiris ruled the underworld, Isis was the goddess of magic, and Horus was the god of kings. The Egyptians had lots of exciting stories about their gods, and they believed the gods controlled everything. Thanks for exploring Egypt with us. We hope you learned some cool and strange things about this amazing country, from the Great Pyramid to moldy bread medicine. Egypt is a place full of history and mystery. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more awesome videos.